Hey there, guys. Sloan here with you, and I've got a very special guest. It's Luke Kreutzer, who you've seen his video all over, and I just played it for you a second ago. So we're going to discuss a couple of things with Luke. Number one, we want to talk about Moore County, and we want to talk about the high school and its absolutely abusive practices in masking, the hypocrisy, the follow the science, complete charlatanism. And then we finally want to ask Luke all about what he's doing in his response, because I mean, Luke, you may not know this, but you really are an exemplar for what we want our kids to be. In this video, we saw you respectful, right? Citing the facts. And I love it when you said, this isn't about laws. This is about morality, right? Of starving the children. So let's back up, and I want to ask you a few questions about you. You're 16, almost 17, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And so tell us about the high school you go to, and all about, what's going on at the school now.
Well, Pinecrest High School is one of those schools where it's a little inconsistent with the mask mandates.
Mhm.
Some days you can go to the lunch table and get your food without a mask, no problem. And I have done that on multiple occasions. But there are also times when I do go to lunch and they tell me either I wear my mask or I don't get any food whatsoever, which is completely, well, this is completely disgusting. And uh, well, they just really are very inconsistent when it comes to the masking. There are some days when the masking is important, and there are some days when the masking isn't. And to me, I find that confusing because they don't bother trying to explain or don't bother uh, picking the days or trying to explain when or how this is fair or not. It's a little confusing on multiple occasions, and which is why I decided to say something about it and decided to call them out on it.
Well, great. I'm glad you did. I mean, the reactions were priceless. The guy I love was sitting there eating the ice cream. I mean, he was just completely stunned. And I felt like going, man, you want to eat your ice cream. You want Luke to go away, right? But
Yeah, I had the same feeling when that was happening.
yeah, you kind of feel bad for the guy. I mean, he's just trying to have his ice cream. He doesn't expect you to
Yeah.
come out and ask the right questions at the right time, and pointing out the hypocrisy, number one, and just this whole thing is just a kabuki theater, if you will.
Yeah, actually, me and the assistant principal, the guy with the ice cream sandwich, me and him actually have gone into a tussle with a mask before. Before I even made the video, I used to go to this French class, and in this French class, it was online, and I had to go to the media center, aka the library, in order to take the class. In that classroom, they were the biggest sticklers for the mask, and even if it was below the nose, they immediately gave you crap for it. There were multiple occasions where they would send a school staff member to tell me to wear my mask and to follow the rules and that it's all in for good health. However, it clearly wasn't, and not to mention, I was the only person getting harassed in there. I'm not even joking. There are many occasions where I have seen a couple of students without their mask, well, without wearing them properly, and yet I will be the only one dealing with the harassments.
Hmm.
And the moment when the assistant principal showed up, that's when I decided to finally call him out and told him that even I have seen him on multiple occasions. He has not been wearing his mask as consistent as well he did in the video. There are multiple occasions where I have seen him not wear his mask, not wear it properly, and there he was trying to give me this lecture, and I called him out on it immediately. It obviously didn't get anywhere because I obviously didn't win the battle. However, I was able to come up with a mutual understanding, and I was able to negotiate some terms with him. So now I take my French online class outside. However, since it's been getting very cold lately, I'm almost slightly regretting my decision, but I still stand by what I stood for.
Well, I mean, to cross the Delaware without shoes on in the middle of winter, so you can take a French class outside for the next what couple couple days maybe, right? So but we have to fight tyranny is my point. And you seem like a guy to me who knows his history and you understand what people have done when they really hate tyranny. I mean, because you're well aware that when the government fears the citizens, we have liberty. When the citizens fear the government, we have tyranny, right? And so what was remarkable about you and what you did is that you had enough, and you were polite, but you were forceful, that you were not going to take tyranny without having a say.
Yes, I agree with that.
Right. And so let me ask you, where did you learn? I mean, because it's clear that you have a point of view about the masks, right? Where are you getting your information to form your opinions about the matter?
Well, believe it or not, I actually did used to believe that the mask was good for us, that it was good for our protection, that it was good for us kids because, well, kids do spread germs faster than adults sometimes. However, I decided to do some research. Well, luckily, it was encouraged by my dad that I do some research because he's a very intelligent guy and he always tells me that I need to educate myself in case I ever want to make a point or understand something better. So what I did was I did my own personal research, and what was funny is the CDC said that kids are at a very low risk of getting, spreading, and dying of COVID, which didn't make sense to me because if we are at a low risk of all of these things with COVID, then why would they bother trying to push the mask mandate on us? Why would they bother doing all of this and abusing us kids and mentally damaging us kids just so we can be safe, even though it's completely irrational? That was when the moment I realized that it's not the kids that they're trying to keep safe. It's just the adults who are completely in fear and completely buying this propaganda from the mask that if you don't wear it, you're going to die.
Right. I mean, we see that with the vaccinations. On Friday afternoon, the VAERS reporting system hit 840,000 adverse reactions that are recorded from the vaccination. And to your point, kids are at little to really no risk. And now they're pushing this on 5 to 11-year-olds without even being properly vetted. I mean, the government wants 56% or more of the population vaccinated. That includes children. But even when the polio vaccination, which is deadly for children, came out, it took the public 6.5 years to get to 56% of vaccinated children. And the reason is, number one, people like to give it time, before they are the dummies for this, if you will. But number two, there needs to be more testing, right? And then we're seeing, as you pointed out, this is being done for our safety, except for you're censored if you want to ask questions, right? You're canceled. And so, what do you make of that?
Well, being honest, uh, I find it completely wrong that we're willing to try to cancel someone who wants to be able to understand things a little better, especially if they have no idea how any of this COVID thing has been working. Uh, when it comes to doing research, people should be able to have the right to be able to do research and be able to make their own decision on this because their healthcare is their own personal choice. They should be able to make that decision. And the problem is, lately in the United States, we're not allowing that. And to me, I really do not understand why we allow that to happen, especially since in America, we have the right to be able to say, we have a say in our own medical care and our way we choose to live our lives. So I do question why we decided to let ourselves get this far.
Well, as far as your classmates, I mean, what percentage are on board with you, would you think, if you had to guess?
With what just happened lately? Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, with the masking.
Oh, uh, well, a lot of my students, classmates, they have agreed with me on multiple occasions about the mask and how, well, unhelpful it is and how it's inefficient for any of us. However, they don't really bother saying anything. They don't really say anything about it. They don't try to use their voice to educate others and try to tell the school board that enough is enough. I have seen a couple of students and a couple of little kids my age try to say something about it. However, I never really saw enough, and to me, I always found that confusing because the masking, as you know, the masking is the one that's been impacting kids the most in the most negative ways possible. So not a lot of people are on my side when it comes to the mask. However, they don't really bother saying anything about it because either they're scared of getting canceled or they don't believe that their voice is going to do anything about it.
But do you think that when they got to see you stand up, do you think that maybe is inspiring them to at least consider speaking out against tyranny?
Well, funny that you mentioned that because the day after I made the video, a couple of students decided to walk over to me and we chatted a little bit, and he told me that, "Hey, I saw what you did yesterday. I thought that was really cool. I totally agree with you about the mask." I don't know if I completely inspired people, but I am glad I was able to get some positive feedback. So far I haven't gotten a lot of people being inspired by what I did, but I am willing to believe that I did at least do something for them.
Yeah, courage is contagious. And,
That
when
is
you
true.
model, you know what I mean? And when you model the type of behavior that you want more of, you'll get more of it. And so, the pioneers, if you will, are taking the slings and the arrows, but and that's what you are for sure. And so, and you should be extremely proud of yourself because it's really funny. Your mom sent me the video and I said, wow, they're starving kids over there. But I have to admit, I didn't even pay attention to that because I was absolutely blown away by you and your performance and your courage. So, I mean, I have to tell you, I am literally in awe of what you did because you were just, and I just said, you are the next Ben Shapiro, if you will, because you just brought the facts, man.
Well, you know what they say, in the words of Ben Shapiro himself, the facts don't care about your feelings.
They
And neither
don't, and
do
they don't
I.
care if you're yeah, and they don't care if you're full or not, I guess. But your mom told me that you weren't the only you were the only one standing up for yourself, but you were standing up for many because apparently many have been denied food, and it's kind of a pattern in practice. Is that what's going on there? Are they? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Uh, well, yes, there have been a couple of students that have been refused to get their lunch, but the difference between me and them is that they decided to comply because, well, obviously because they didn't see it as a big deal. They just wanted to get their food and they didn't want any trouble. However, me, because I dealt with it the most and because I have dealt with a lot of harassment, I've been dealing with a lot of rejection because of this mask mandate. I finally decided I had enough and wanted to stand up for myself about it. And I know for a fact that I was able to do the same for a couple of students that wanted to say something but chose not to.
Well, I mean, amen to you. I mean, you are doing great work. Do you have brothers and sisters and
Yes, I have a little brother named Seth, and I got two little twin brothers named Liam and Aiden. My younger brother Seth, he is 13, I believe, and my little brothers Liam and Aiden, they just turned 5, actually.
well, great. I mean, so you're the big brother, and so you know what that's like. They all look up to you, and they're going to have to. You're a tough act to follow for them. So you've set the bar really high with, speaking out very eloquently against tyranny, and you have your own show, which I love this idea. Tell me about your show. Tell me when it comes on, and tell me about the things that you're treating in your show and talking about.
Well, the Luke Kratzer show was originally going to be this movie review channel because I love movies. I always like talking about them. However, I also did take an interest in a couple of political, social issues that's been going on in our country. And what I wanted to do was bring my perspective to people my age, because some people my age either don't know about this stuff or don't bother caring about this stuff. And what I wanted to do on this show was be able to bring my perspective into those people and just try to educate them or just let them know what's going on in our world. The way I format my podcast, what I do is I take three things that stick out to me throughout the week, and then I just write my own. I write what uh, sorry. What I do is I bring the two perspectives of the two opinions on the entire story. I bring stuff from the Daily Wire, I bring stuff from Fox News, and I even sometimes bring stuff from CNN and MSNBC. I bring them all together to form this segment. And then what I do next is I bring my perspective and try to talk about what I think about it and where I most likely agree with in these segments. And I always post it on Friday because, well, that's when I have time to actually record and post stuff. Because, as you know, I'm a 16-year-old kid and still have to deal with high school. I had to deal with my athletics. I had to deal with my other responsibilities. So that's basically an entire weekly basis on how I handle the Lucrazia show. And what I talked about on the Lucrazia show, what I talked about is a combination of social issues, political issues, and mostly entertainment on some occasions.
So
As
culture.
yeah,
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you're right. I mean, from a perspective, somebody your age, they're not going to listen to me, right? I mean, that my favorite movie of all time is Tommy Boy. Well, that's a little bit outdated, right? So they want to know, modern, a more contemporary perspective on newer movies.
yeah.
So, although Tommy Boy, you got to admit, it's a top 10 for comedy, right?
Well, I actually have not seen it, but since you
Ooh.
recommended it to me, I'll see if I can find it.
You have to see it. It's hilarious, I think. But of course, I'm biased, but I'm not as expert as you on being a movie critic. So you have to tell me what you think. But no, I love what you're doing. I mean, you're handling, the subjects that need to be taken on. Do you ever have any guests on your show?
I have not yet had a guest on my show yet. I do plan on doing that later on in the future. However, I'm still trying to build up my audience, try to get some better equipment, and just try to, well, obviously get a bigger studio. That way I can have enough room to talk to people. But I do plan on having a guest star on my show eventually.
Who would you get?
Well, am I supposed to be realistic here, or?
No, shoot for the stars. Who would you have on?
Well, I definitely would love to have Ben Shapiro on there and try to see if we can see how similar we are. I mean, that would sound fun.
That would sound fun because I mean, if you put a kippah on, and we're Jewish, I'll loan you one. You could be, yeah, you would pass.
Good to know.
Yeah, you would definitely pass. Well, listen, thank you very much for coming on to our show. And we're going to give you we're going to widen your audience. And let me just ask you also I mean, it's going to be campaign season, probably after the spring, people are getting into full kick. Would you ever be interested in going out on the campaign trail and covering campaigns?
Yeah, that actually would sound interesting, and it sounds pretty fun.
Okay, great. Well, I'll keep you posted on that, because we're always looking for good talent. And I think having a kid interview some of these prospective candidates will really catch people off guard. Maybe we'll get some honest answers from politicians for once, right?
Yeah, the way I see it is, if it takes a kid to start saying that everything's all messed up, then we clearly are messed up as a country. I mean,
Or
that's the philosophy I kind of live by.
yeah, or we could be getting to the point where, well, I mean, you're right, actually. But when you're right, so when standards are educating children more than the actual teachers are, and when children are questioning the dogma that's gripping so many Americans right now, so many adults, yeah, I think you're right. But I think I've seen a lot of good signs come out. You're one of them. but other kids saying, hey, suspend me. I'll go into school every day, suspend me, but I'm not wearing the mask. I mean, ordinarily, you have a great mom and dad, and I teach my kids this too. Do not talk back to teachers, right? Do not be defiant. Do not, but it's a fine line, right?
Yeah.
It's a fine line, and I think you walked that line just fine. I love what I saw. You're going completely viral now, and so best of luck to you, Luke, and we'll be talking soon, I'm sure.
Well, I thank you very much for letting me be on this show. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for
Well,
giving me this opportunity.
absolutely. Well, thank you, and keep up your good work.
You too. You have a good day.
All right.